Hi, my name is Cameron Rowe, and I am in Information Technologies 5810, Summer 2020, and this is my term project. For the data set, I was actually really disappointed. I wanted to use data that had to do with journalism and how trustworthy the nation feels that we are, but the difference between like real and fake news. I actually found quite a few data sets that I liked and that I thought would work, but they ended up not working. They wouldn't create any association rules, and I couldn't figure out why they weren't doing that. And then I ran into a couple more issues when I was trying to do the k-means cluster analysis. Uh, so I had to end up using or combining two of the Microsoft data sets that we were given into a bigger data set and create a new data set that would be big enough to meet the parameters for our final. My questions for this analysis is that I wanted to see what was considered the biggest con and what was considered the biggest con and that's supposed to say smallest con based off of this analysis. And then the k-means cluster, I was interested to see which words were used the most to describe the negative workplace and the most, and which words were used the least. I think that those would be really helpful just to anybody with looking at that, so they know where to target those problems at. The techniques that I used for the final is k-means clustering and association. We use those quite a bit in class, and I felt the most comfortable with those, and like I could do the best work with them. As you can see in this, for the association final, this is what that final diagram looks like for me. And then here's those association rules, and I'll talk about those in just a minute. And then here is that cluster final diagram. And then the first set of clusters that I looked at, and I made 5 clusters for this. And then the second clusters that I looked at. So going to look at the association final diagram. Let me bring that in here. The association final diagram. I was really interested to see like what 2 words were, or what 2 or 3 words were associated the most underneath the cons column. And so let me bring this in. I found that in the association work and people, the confidence that those 2 would be associated under the cons was 0.2% of the time. And what that told me is that although it may be a negative workplace, they don't feel that the people there make the workplace negative. And it allowed me to make that conclusion when I also looked at the biggest con, which if you look at the bottom of this, it's life balance and work. Those 3 have the most confidence of being seen together in the cons column of a 0.99% of the time, which is a lot. And so even though their work-life balance is pretty bad, they don't feel as though the people there are making it bad, which I think is always a plus when it comes to working for a company that you don't hate the people that you work with. So let's get rid of these real quick, get them out of the way. In my clustering final diagram, that's what this looks like right here. And then in this one, I found that in cluster 1, technically the third cluster, I found that work was to be seen as the biggest thing found in the cons column, which I think that goes hand in hand with the work-life balance. So this tells me that if you look right here, does it's work, balance, life, hours, pressure, it tells me that there's a lot of stuff going on with their work-life balance and the hours that they're working and all the pressures and challenges that they're feeling. Good doesn't come in until the seventh or eighth row, and it's only at a 0.01% of the time, which is very low to be for the cons column. And if we come over here and we look at the least, it shows me that Zune, which I feel that was just a typo in the data set, which I think it would be zone and zones, and they're all at pretty much a 1. So their zoning or their space that they have at work is not part of the problem that they're feeling. I left up my association diagram because I felt like those were going to be the best thing for me to look at. And as you saw there in my process document, my tokenize and all of that good stuff. And then my results down here for this bigger data set. I was able to see a lot more than what I saw with the smaller data set. I did, I dealt I did a little over double of the data set that we had. And something that I found that was really interesting is that the confidence of good and company was only at a 0.355. And that, when I talk to people about their jobs, and I always want to know if it's a good company to work for, and to know that these would show up together in the cons column 0.35% of the time tells me that it's not a horrible company to work for, but it's also not one of the better ones to work for. But when you look up here at company and people, that the people who are working for this company are better than the company itself, because this would only be seen together 0.228% of the time in the cons column. And I like those odds a lot more than I like the company and people. Or that's right, the good and the company confidence. But other than that, I think I had an okay time doing this project. I really wish I had gotten to this point sooner so I could have reached out for help. But that's on me, so I will just leave you with this. I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you've done for us through this semester. I really enjoyed my time in your class, and I hope you have a great rest of your year. Bye.